Okay, this section 2.4 is more on slopes and equations of lines. And so before we get to equations of the lines, I want to review parallel and perpendicular lines. So let's talk about parallel lines first. Now, you probably remember from your geometry that parallel lines are two lines in the same plane that never intersect. And we use a little symbol, like two parallel lines, to represent it. So we don't have to write that word out every time. So if you think about this, if you have parallel lines, for example, if I have a line that's rising from left to right, and then I draw another line that's rising from left to right with the same slope, they're just the same distance apart, then these are called parallel lines. And parallel lines have equal slopes. So that's the main thing you need to know about parallel lines. All right, let's think about perpendicular lines. Let me get a little room here. And so perpendicular lines. And remember the upside down T that represents perpendicular lines. Okay, let's say I have a line that slants, it's rising from left to right, and the slope would be positive. A perpendicular line, or a line that's perpendicular to it, is going to fall from left to right. So it will have a negative slope. The slopes of perpendicular lines are what we call opposite or negative reciprocals. Now, opposite or negative means the same thing. It means the opposite sign. A reciprocal of a number is the inverse of it. Or if you have a fraction, you flip it to get the reciprocal. So let's say that we have an equation of a line, and it is y equals 2/3 x plus 5. So this particular equation is in slope-intercept form, if you recall from the previous lesson. It's in the form of y equals mx plus b. Remember, m is the slope. So the slope of this line is 2/3. If I find a parallel line to it, remember the slopes of parallel lines are equal. So the slope of a line parallel to it would also be 2/3. If I want the slope of a line that's perpendicular to it, remember perpendicular lines have slopes that are opposite or negative reciprocals. We have to change the sign, and since this was positive, it would be negative, and get the reciprocal of that slope, which would be 3/2. Parallel lines, the slopes are equal. Perpendicular lines, the slopes are negative or opposite reciprocals. Let's look at one more. Let's say that I have the equation of a line, y is equal to a negative 7x minus 4. The slope of this line is negative 7. The slope of any line parallel would also be negative 7. But the slope of the line perpendicular to it is the opposite reciprocal. So it's going to be positive, and the reciprocal of 7 is 1/7. Now, we're going to find an equation of the line, just like we did in section 2.3. And so remember, when you're finding an equation of the line, you're going to use the point slope form. Y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. And remember, m is equal to the slope, and then the point that has coordinates x sub 1, y sub 1 is the known point on the line. So I want to find an equation of the line, point, -2, 5, and it's going to be parallel to the graph of y equals -4x plus 5. Okay, so two things we have to know to find the equation of the line. A point on the line, which are given, and the slope of the line. Since this is parallel to the graph of y equals negative 4x plus 5, they're going to have the same slopes. And this equation is in slope-intercept form, so you can easily see that the slope is equal to a negative 4. So we've got our point on the line, and we have the slope of the line, so we can find the equation of the line using the point-slope form. Just substitute in, I would say y minus 5 negative 4 times x minus a negative 2 is plus 2. So we want to go ahead and simplify this and solve it for y. So I'll bring down y minus 5. And using distributive property on the right side, that's going to be a negative 4x, and negative 4 times 2 is minus 8. And so the last thing I want to do is add 5 to both sides. We just add 5, and that's going to give me y equals negative 4x, and negative 8 plus 5 is negative 3. So that is the equation of a line that passes through the point negative 2, 5, and is parallel to the graph of y equals negative 4x plus 5. Okay? Now, I want to find an equation of the line, and it's going to pass through. I'm going to use the same point I used on the previous one, negative 2, 5. And this time, it's going to be perpendicular to the graph of y equals negative 4x plus 5. So if it's perpendicular, that's going to change the slope. Remember, slopes of perpendicular lines are negative or opposite reciprocals. So we go back over here, we know the slope of the line that has the equation y equals negative 4x plus 5 is negative 4. But we want the slope of a line that is perpendicular to that. So we have to find the negative reciprocal of negative 4, or opposite reciprocal. That means the opposite sign, so it's going to be positive, and the reciprocal of negative of 4 is 1/4. So the slope we're going to use is 1/4 because it is a perpendicular line. So using the point slope form, this will be y minus 5 equals 1/4 times x minus the negative 2 is plus 2. So that's just substituting in the point slope form. So I'll bring down the left side, y minus 5, and then I'm going to multiply on the right side. So 1/4 times x is 1/4, and we are multiplying 1/4 times 2. And you could write that as 2 over 1. Remember, when you multiply fractions, you multiply numerators together and denominators together. But we could simplify first, because 2 goes into 2 once, into 4 2 times. So now if I multiply, I get 1/2. So 1/4 times 2 is plus 1/2. Okay, I want to add 5 to both sides of my equation to solve for y. So we put it right there this time. And so y equals 1/4 x plus. I've got to add 1/2 plus 5. Now you might think that that's 5 1/2, and it is. I don't want a mixed number, so I need to change this to a fraction. So I'll bring over my denominator, and to get my numerator, 2 times 5 is 10, plus 1 is 11. And so that's going to be 1/4 x plus 11 halves. Shortcut on this, the denominator is going to be 2. You multiply the denominator times that integer 5, which is 10, and add it to that numerator to get your new numerator. So this is the equation of the line that is through the point negative 2, 5 and perpendicular to y equals negative 4x plus 5.